everyone, welcome back to the 2018 Granny Square Crochet Along. Today we are making this cute square. It's called Mum Elsa, and it's got lots of cluster stitches going on today. So we've got cluster stitches all in the middle, cluster stitches around the outside. Yeah, all of this is cluster stitches apart from our border. And we start our centre off in a different way as well, making this kind of web effect as well. So you can do it all in one colour, of course, or you can change colours as often as you like. I'm going to use two colours. I'm going to use two blues for my Autism Awareness Month, and that's about it. So if you're going to change colours, you will need some scissors and obviously your hook. And otherwise, from that, just grab a cup of tea or something to keep you going, and let's get started. Okay, now there are two different methods of starting this square. If you've seen the pattern, which is in our Facebook group, and all the details of that are in the description box below, for our group, the 2018 Granny Square Cal Crochet Along. And if you see the pattern, it does give you two different starts for this. So I'm going to show you the one for this where we get this kind of web effect in the middle rather than just our plain ring. Okay, so it starts with a chain of 5. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5. And then you want to do a slip stitch into your first chain. And then normally we would go sort of under and over, we would work around this ring, but we're not going to do that right now. We're going to work into these chains, and we're going to do 2 single crochets in each stitch, in each chain. We're not going to do a chain 1 and turn or anything like that. Just go into your first chain and do 1, 2 single crochets, then go into your next chain and do 2 single crochets. Now I know this might seem a little bit odd, might feel a bit strange doing this, but just go with it. So that's our third, and then our fourth one, 2 single crochets, and then your fifth one, which is where you did your slip stitch. Just find chain there to go into and do 2 single crochets, and then of course you are going to slip stitch into your first single crochet, which will be this one here, I think. But if you're not sure, just count back around. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9, 10. Always best to count if you're not sure. So slip stitch through there, and then you can see here, if my camera focuses, let's pull this loop, take my hook out, you can see here you've got this kind of mesh effect going on, this sort of web effect going on in the middle. So you can pull your tail a little bit tighter, and then you've got this really cute effect going on in the middle there. Now the other way you can do it, if you're not sure about that, if you tried it and it doesn't work for you, I must admit I did try this 2 or 3 times and I kept sort of, you know, missing chains and it wasn't working too well, so I just persevered with it. If that doesn't work for you, then you can still do your chain 4 and slip stitch, and then do 5 single crochets around your ring, or make the magic circle and do 5 single crochets and then slip stitch, and then on your second round do 2 single crochets into each stitch around your circle, and then that will give you your 10 single crochets to start with. Okay, so we're starting with those 10 single crochets, but I really like this effect here in the middle. So let's move on to round 2. So for round 2, we're going to start our cluster stitches, and that's when we do, we'll be doing the 3 double crochet clusters. So that means we'll be doing 3 double crochets, but only partially. We do the first yarn over and pull through, and then we leave the last loop on the hook. But to begin with, we need to do a chain 2, and that counts as our first partial double crochet. So then yarn over, go into that same stitch where that chain's coming out from. That's your second partial double crochet. Yarn over and insert, yarn over, pull through, yarn over, pull through 2, and that's your third. Okay, you've only got 3 loops here because your first was this chain. So yarn over and pull through those 3, and then do a chain 2. So for our second one, yarn over, insert into your next stitch, yarn over, pull through, yarn over, pull through 2, just as you would for a double crochet, but then you're leaving your last loop on the hook because this first one is the loop that's on your hook all the time. So then do that again for your second double crochet. Now I've got 3 loops, and for a third double crochet, you've now got 4 loops, yarn over and pull through all 4, and then do a chain 2. So work around in every stitch doing one of these clusters with 3 incomplete double crochet, and you'll always have 4 loops and pull through, and then chain 2. So follow this all the way around, and when you get back here you should have 10 clusters and 10 chain 2 spaces, and I'll meet you back around here to do our slip stitch. Okay, so when you've got your 10 clusters and 10 chain 2 spaces, you are going to find your first chain here, chain of 2, and do a slip stitch in that second chain to join those together. There we go, end of round 2. I love this middle, really liking that. So there's the end of round 2. It is time for round 3. So for round 3, oh my gosh, I really need to sort my table out. It's so squeaky and creaky, isn't it? So I'm sorry about that, guys. Excuse me. So for round 3, it's very similar to the round we've just done, only we're going to be doing 20 clusters, and they're going to be in these chain 2 spaces. So you are going to slip stitch across. So just do a slip stitch in the top of this cluster, and then a slip stitch in this space here, so that you're in this space now. If you wanted to change colour, then that's a good play. That's where you would change your colour, in this chain 2 space. So you are going to, as we did before, do a chain 2, which counts as your first incomplete double crochet, and then you are going to do a cluster stitch. So you'll only be doing 2 double crochets for this, with 3 loops, pull through, and a chain 2, 1, 2, and then do another cluster. Just pull these around a little to make some space, then do another cluster. This time, remember, it will be 3 double crochets that you're doing. Okay, so 4 loops, then yarn over and pull through, and let's get some more yarn, and then you are going to do a chain 2. So just as we did before, only this time, instead of working into stitches, we are working in between our clusters. So you're now going to do cluster in the next space with 3 partial double crochets, pull through 4 loops, chain 2, do a second cluster in that space, and pull through 4 loops, and then do a chain 2. And you're going to do this all the way around until you have 20 clusters and 20 chain 2 spaces, all the way around until you get back here to the beginning, and we'll fasten off together. Okay, when you've got your 20 clusters and 20 chain 2 spaces, you are going to do as we did before in the last round. Just find your first chain 2 here and then go into your second chain and do a slip stitch. And then this is where I am going to fasten off, and we've done this center rounds, and I'm going to fasten off and do my next round in a different shade of blue. So fasten this off, and I will join you back for joining our new colour. Okay, so I've joined my new colour. I've decided that actually the pattern says 2 colours, but I've decided I've done these puffs in blue, and then I'm going to do these puffs in a grey, and then I'm going to use my other blue for the border. So if you want to do that, then go ahead and do that as well. So you want to join your new colour in a chain 2 space. If you're not changing colour, then just do as we did in the previous round and do a slip stitch across into your chain space so that you're in a chain space ready to work. Okay, so I've just joined with a slip stitch, and now we're going to do exactly as we've done in previous rounds, in that we're going to start with a chain 2 that counts as our first incomplete double crochet cluster, and then do 2 more partial double crochets, 3 loops on your hook, yarn over and pull through, simples, and then as before chain 2. And then what you're going to do on this round is so simple. You're going to, in every space, you're going to do a 3 double crochet cluster and a chain 2 all the way around, so that you have 1 cluster in every chain 2 space and a chain 2 between them. So you'll have 20 clusters and 20 chain 2 spaces. And as before, you're going to join with a slip stitch in your top chain of 2 here at the beginning. So I see you 20 clusters later. Okay, so I have done my 20 clusters, 20 chain 2 spaces, and joined into my chain, second chain here to with a slip stitch to join the round. So it's time for round 5. Okay, so for round 5, this is where we're going to start making our corners, but other than that, it's very similar to our previous round. So just slip stitch across into this chain 2 space. Okay, and if you're changing color, then just join your new color in this chain 2 space. Okay, so do a chain 2, which counts again as your first incomplete cluster, double crochet. So then do your 2 more incomplete double crochet and pull through for your first cluster, and then you're going to chain 3 and then do another cluster in that same space, and this will be your first corner. So we've got cluster, chain 3, cluster, and then you're going to chain 2 and you're going to do 4 more clusters along. So let's just do those. 1, 2, 3, pull through. Oops, caught up there. There we go. You're going to do this to chain 2. You're going to do 4 of these clusters, so 1, 2, 3, 4, and then in this 5th space you're going to do another corner, cluster, chain 3, cluster, and then another 4 clusters along, and then another corner, and that's what you're doing all the way around. Corner, 4 clusters, corner, 4 clusters, and I'll see you back around here. Okay, so when you finish round 5, it will be a bit like this. It might not seem too square at the moment. I've been pulling mine a little bit, so this is probably a square that you're going to need to block. Okay, you can see it is square there if I do that. So what I've done is I've done a slip stitch into my second chain here, just as we have on every round, and then because I'm changing for my border, I've just fastened this off, and to make it easier to join, I've joined in the very same place over in this corner. So I've just joined on this corner stitch here. Okay, so now it's time for our border, which is single crochets. So you are going to do a chain 1 and a single crochet in the same stitch, and then a single crochet in the next stitch, which is this one here. And in your corner, you're going to do 3 single crochets. So in this corner space, you're going to do 1, 2, 3 single crochets. And then going around, really simple, you're going to do a single crochet in the next 2 stitches. So if you look at the top of your cluster, you've got this space here. So do a single crochet in there, or I say space stitch, and then you've got this where you go over for your chain. I don't know if you can see that there. So go into that, and that's your second stitch, and then 1 in the chain space. So 1 in this space, this stitch here, and then 1 in this, you can see where you've gone over for your chain, just here. Okay, if I pop that hook in, you can probably see it a bit clearer. So 1 there, and then 1 in the space. 1 stitch, 2 stitches, 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 3 in your corner space. And you're going to follow that same pattern all the way around until you get back round to here, and it will be a slip stitch in your first single crochet, not your chain, but your first single crochet. So go all the way around with the single crochets, and I'll see you back around here. Okay, so this is the end of round 6 and the end of the official pattern. So I'm just going to stretch this out slightly as if I was blocking. You can see that square there. Really pretty and quite fun to work up all those cluster stitches, and of course my favourite part, this centre in there. Love that look. So my square is not quite up to my 15 centimeters. You can see there, not quite up, so I'm going to go round and do another round of single crochet. So I will do 1 single crochet in every stitch, and in my middle corner stitch I will do 3 single crochets in there. But that is the end of the official pattern. So if you need to just bring yours up to size a bit, you've probably done that lots of times before. If you need to, then go ahead and do that as well. But otherwise, there's the end of our Mum Elsa square, no doubt made for a special mum out there called Elsa. So if you found this video useful and helpful, then please hit that like button, give us a thumbs up. The more likes we get, the more people potentially to see the video, and the subscribe button as well if you haven't done that already. So until next time, don't forget to join our Facebook group, show us your photos. We love to see photos of your squares, and until next time, just keep hooking and don't let your tea get cold.